He raised the gun and shouted, "Hands where I can see them," right in our own driveway. My wife froze, grocery bags dropping into the snow. The man wore a black vest that said HOA Security, but nothing about him felt official. Behind him stood Karen, shaking with excitement, yelling that my wife was trespassing and needed to be detained. I stepped forward, and Karen screamed, "Don't move or he'll shoot!" My heart slammed hard, but my wife stayed calm. Too calm for someone staring down a gun. The fake guard kept talking fast, threatening arrest, saying HOA rules allowed him to use force. His finger twitched near the trigger. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. No one stepped in. Karen loved that part. She smiled and said, "I warned you people." What she didn't know, what she couldn't see under my wife's winter jacket, was the weight of a real badge, earned the hard way. My wife slowly lifted her eyes, locked them on his, and said in the quietest voice, "Lower the weapon now." The man laughed. Karen laughed louder. And that was the moment everything went wrong for them. The laugh didn't last long. My wife took one slow step forward, hands still visible, voice steady like she'd said these words 100 times before. "You are pointing a firearm without authority," she said. "That's a felony." The fake guard hesitated, just a second, but it was enough. Karen snapped, "Don't listen to her," and pushed his arm back up. That's when my wife reached inside her jacket, not fast, not dramatic, and flipped open her badge. Gold caught the light. Captain. The color drained from his face so fast it was almost painful to watch. He backed up, gun lowering without being told again. Karen stared at the badge, blinking, then laughed nervously. "She's lying," she said. My wife didn't argue. She spoke into her phone instead, calm and clear, giving her name, rank, and location. Within minutes, sirens cut through the air. Real ones. The fake guard dropped the gun onto the driveway before they even arrived. Karen started crying, shouting that she was just trying to protect the neighborhood. The officers didn't look at her. They cuffed the man first, then turned to Karen. One of them asked, "Who hired him?" Karen tried again when the cuffs clicked. "I didn't hire him," she said fast. "He's HOA Security." My wife met her eyes and said, "There is no such thing." The officers separated them. One read the fake guard his rights. Another asked for his license. He didn't have one. No permit, no contract. Just a vest ordered online and a handgun he wasn't allowed to carry. The neighbors came out then, phones up, voices shaking. Someone said they saw him stopping cars last week. Someone else said he threatened a kid over a bike. Each sentence dug Karen deeper. When the supervisor arrived, my wife stepped aside and let him work. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. The driveway filled with red and blue light. Statements were taken. Footage was pulled. The fake guard was loaded into a cruiser, head down. Karen kept insisting this was a misunderstanding, that the HOA approved it. The supervisor asked for the approval. She had none. He asked who gave the order. All eyes turned to her. She started yelling that everyone was against her, that rules mattered, that she was keeping people safe. The supervisor sighed and said, "You escalated to deadly force on private property." The charge list came out slow and heavy. Impersonation, brandishing, false imprisonment, conspiracy. Karen's knees buckled when they told her she wasn't free to leave. As they led her away, she looked at my wife like she was betrayed. My wife didn't smile. She just said one thing, quiet and final. "You don't get to play cop." The street stayed lit long after the cruisers left. Neighbors stood in small groups, whispering, replaying what they'd just seen. No one defended Karen Mao. No one used the word misunderstanding. The HOA board sent out an email before sunrise, short and careful, saying they had no connection to the man in the vest and that Karen was suspended pending review. It didn't help. By noon, people were sharing videos, screenshots, old complaints. A pattern was forming, and it was ugly. A week later, my wife was back in uniform, briefing officers who'd never guessed she'd been the one at gunpoint days earlier. The fake guard took a plea. Karen resigned before the vote could remove her. The HOA quietly rewrote its rules, adding lines about no private security, like they'd always meant it that way. Life settled, but something important changed. Doors opened when people saw us. Trust came back, slow and careful. They thought a vest and a gun made them powerful. What stopped them wasn't shouting or revenge. It was training, law, and a calm voice that knew exactly what to say when a weapon was pointed the wrong way. And that's the part the neighborhood remembers. Not the fear, not the Karen, but the moment fake authority met the real thing and folded. Months passed, but that night never really faded. Every time we pulled into the driveway, I still remembered the sound of that gun being raised and the sound it made when it hit the concrete. The neighborhood felt different now, quieter, safer. Kids rode bikes again without being stopped. No one wore fake vests anymore. Power had lost its costume. One evening, a couple from down the street knocked on our door. Not angry, not scared. They just said thank you. Said they almost hired that same security guy because Karen told them he was approved. My wife listened, nodded, and told them something simple. Always ask who gives the orders. That line spread faster than any HOA rule ever did. Karen moved out before the court date. No goodbye, no explanation. Just an empty house and a sold sign a few weeks later. The fake guard is still facing charges. As for us, life went back to normal, but we never forgot one truth that night burned into everyone who saw it. When fake authority pulls a gun, it always ends the same way: exposed, ashamed, and powerless. Especially when the person they threaten turns out to be the one who actually enforces the law.